So, since this is a spoiler review, we can talk about it in specifics and the things that I did not like, joke wise. I got tired of the goats. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Whole Views. And today we're going to be doing a spoiler review for Thor Love and Thunder. Man, I really enjoyed the movie. I came down with an 8 out of 10 as far as my score. You can look in the description and see how those little categories break down. Not going to do a category by category thing. I'd rather do a likes and dislikes section for the movie. It'll be an easier way to kind of get all the thoughts out there and the things that I enjoyed and the things that I didn't enjoy, and just really give my criticisms of the movie. And talk about the story that we did get. So talking about it and thinking about it out loud, I'll say the likes section is going to be really short. And the reason why that section is going to be short is because with the Marvel movies in particular, I tend to like the same things over and over. The fact that we see comic book panels come into life, I really like that. I get a kick out of that. I'm gonna like the fight scenes. I'm gonna like the visuals for the most part. That stuff is gonna vary depending on what movie you're watching, how well it's lit, what do they choose to do visually as far as like the power set of the particular hero that's featured in the movie that you're looking at. An overarching like, and I think that's gonna always be present in the Marvel movies, is that most of them tend to be fun. Even when you think back to Infinity War and Endgame, the two darkest films I would say in the pantheon of Marvel films, they had extremely fun moments throughout most of those movies. It was very, very fun, but the consequences of each one is kind of what gave it a more serious tone. I did like gore. That's one thing that's not normal about Marvel movies and Marvel reviews. I did really, really enjoy the villain within the first 10 minutes, and after his daughter passed and the way he was treated by the god that he was praising, I was like, man, I'm all the way on board with Gore. I'm very much in support of him and taking out at least this one and then moving on to others if they are in the same fashion. Like, I was like, yeah, these people deserve it. So maybe that's kind of dark of me. But moving right into the dislikes, the consequences and the seriousness of tone is really what was lacking here. The biggest criticism I heard of the movie going in before I got a chance to watch was that this movie has too many jokes. And while I don't think it has too many jokes, some of the jokes don't hit and some of them do feel inappropriately placed if you want to make a serious film or a film that's to be taken serious by the viewers. So since this is a spoiler review, we can talk about it in specifics and the things that I did not like, joke-wise. I got tired of the goats. The goats were very funny initially, but by the time they got off of the Guardian ship, I was like, yo, they're going to be screaming like this every time they're on camera? I didn't care for that. I wanted to see them kind of like fade into the background. They became useful in a moment toward the end, but I didn't like the goats too much. Being critical, I also feel like there was a little too much Korg. Like, I liked the narration in the beginning and towards the end, but like the little pop-ins throughout, I didn't really care that much for Korg and all the things that he had to do and say. I did like his injury that he took on in the little battle against Zeus. I liked it. It showed how powerful that weapon could be, as well as it gave Thor something to care about outside of the Jane character and had him experience another loss, because it seems like every movie he experiences a serious loss. So he was cool. Korg was cool for those purposes, but there was a lot of him and I didn't really care for that much Korg. The most egregious joke, the joke that really didn't land the most to me and I felt like it was very inappropriately placed, was this. It would be the second Matt Damon cameo where you get him and the oldest Hemsworth brother showing up during the panic where the kids have been abducted and the whole townspeople are in a frenzy trying to find the kids and trying to like get a grasp of the situation. These two pop up and they talking about writing a play because people need entertainment, and I'm like, yo, this is taking the seriousness out of the moment. I didn't care for that. I wish that they had not done that. Not to say that the movie needs to be dark as The Batman from Matt Reeves, but just that moment was a moment where you could have took and like really put some stakes on this thing and had people really care about these kids. But it did not hit right there in that moment. And it's mainly due to that joke. And I know Thor had a joke in there later with Stormbreaker and he like shoots off but then loops back around and hits a statue and it messes some things up. I'm fine with that because Thor and that kind of sets up the weirdness with the two hammers and the axe and the weapons and him talking to the weapons. I was fine with that. But the initial, we are walking through a trauma center and you are pitching ideas for a play, trying to get a play greenlit. I didn't like it, and I think that it took the moment down quite a bit. I am a pretty big Greek mythology guy. I do like the fact that Zeus was present in this. I feel like his representation and like how they portrayed him on screen was kind of like, I guess. I do like that they're kind of setting him up to be a villain on the back half and direct Hercules towards Thor. Like, that'd be a good fight to see. Ultimately, I hope that the MCU does not choose to do something like almost Star Wars-esque with Luke throwing a lightsaber over his shoulder. I hope they don't do that with like Thor and Hercules and just have the end of that fight like Thor wipe the floor with him and that's it. I would hate to see that happen. But I do like the fact that Zeus is kind of around and is going to be present, but I didn't necessarily like the take on him, just like kind of a slob and a little silly with a little skirt on. Like it's kind of a weird look at that character. Never seen him depicted that way. So what I don't want though is I don't want people to think that I'm largely negative on Thor. Again, an 8 out of 10 is a pretty decent score. I wouldn't necessarily call it top tier cinema type stuff, but it's the MCU. It's always going to be solid. It's always going to be fun. This is solid. This is fun. I enjoyed it. I did feel like visually there were some issues. I did feel like the pace-wise, like, it was nice and tight, but at the same time, it felt like very conveniently things happened and moved the story along. You could feel the third act right there on you, and you knew when things were about to end. 8 out of 10 is pretty good. It was a fun entry into the MCU. Looking forward to seeing more MCU stuff come out later this year. Let me know what you guys thought about the movie in the comments section. Did you dislike the same things that I disliked? And how did you feel about Thor overall? Was it just like another meh type entry into the MCU for you? Please let us know your thoughts. Thank you for watching thus far. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.